Ferguson here, working under the brand Huzzah Creative. That's Huzza Creative, no H at the end. The original spelling of the word Huzzah has no H at the end. And I'm doing this project. I mean, it's a lot of projects, drawing projects, but specifically, I'm recording all of my live streams of using up all the ink on this pen. And so far I've calculated the hours because all of it is live streamed. And oh crap, the top fell off and I thought I lost the spring, but the spring's still here. And so this is the rOtring 600. It's a very heavy duty metal pen that you can refill, and the refills that I've been using are the SCHMIDT Easyflow 9000M. And so far I've gone about 42 and a half plus hours with this, give or take, because sometimes on live streams, I might stop and take a break or, in between, but overall pretty much 42 and a half hours of live streaming pretty much with this. So we'll just call it like 42 hours. Over 42 hours with this pen, or specifically the ink refill. I mean, the pen itself is pretty heavy duty. It's going to last you a long time. It's made out of a metal. I don't know exactly what kind, but, I've dropped this pen so many times, and it still holds up pretty well. This is a solid metal, like, pen tip that helps support the refill, and this is very heavy duty. Honestly, this is going to help you build calluses on your in your wherever you write, in the area that you write, like your middle finger or whatever. It's gonna help you build calluses because the grip here is literally just like metal grooves. So this pen is definitely not designed for drawing, for arts, for like long-term use. But I do it because I don't believe in like if you I don't believe in necessarily having like rules or whatever. Like I have to use an art pen or something, but if that's a consideration for you, draw for many hours at a time. Or, if you're out and about and you're like an engineer or like an architect or like a construction person or, someone who is constantly out and you constantly need to like write on the go, then this is probably a good pen for you. But for artists, this is just a nice solid pen that you can refill with ballpoint and run out of ink every 50 hours of just straight drawing or whatever. I don't know how many hours. I'm estimating that it probably won't go more than 45, but it's gone more than 42 and a half. I thought I was going to be done when I first started this project. I thought I was going to be done at around like 8 hours. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to pull a Mr. Beast and draw for 8 hours straight, and hopefully I'll run out of ink. And that hasn't gone so well. So, I've made this a longer series, and then it's like every 10 hours I feel like I'm going to run out of ink. But here's the thing. I'm at a point right now where I do have to shake it. So I have to shake it really hard in order to get the ink out, but it ends up lasting. So, I'm giving this pen the pen refill, the full use of all of the ink, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So, one of the things I don't want to do for this project is to have to think about everything I draw, in a sense of I'm not like doodling or making up designs. I'm literally taking stuff that I see and just using this as like a study session. So I take Vincent van Gogh's drawings, for example. Right here I have this book, The Drawings of Vincent van Gogh, compiled by Christopher Lloyd. He's actually got some really good facts and information in this book that I haven't found in other places. But, I'm taking these drawings and sketches that are in here and basically just copying them. So, pretty mindful activity. I don't want to call it mindless, in a sense. Like, copying's not mindless. It can be, but let's just call it a mindful activity. So, here's a sketch. Here's a recent sketch I did the other day. What I found interesting while doing this is you learn so much. You spend 42 and a half hours drawing things, right, and looking for things to draw, and you start to learn new things. And this is actually based on a sketch by Leonardo da Vinci. Can you believe that Leonardo da Vinci did crazy, bizarre, and wild figures like this? I didn't make this up myself. You know, obviously some of the lines might be different. I don't necessarily have um, the artisanly Renaissance Italian Renaissance artist Leonardo da Vinci, like, you know, hand movements, but the idea of this figure, um, with like the really tight shut eyes and the huge jaw and the massive, um, you know, this nose actually looks more realistic than the one I believe Leonardo da Vinci drew. But uh, yeah, he did caricatures. Did you know that? Fun fact: Leonardo da Vinci did caricatures. I did not know that. But let's go ahead and get started on these drawings. I have spoken long enough. So let's see. I'm trying to find a good position where you can almost see what I'm drawing, but like at the same time, I don't have to like, you know, lean over. Unfortunately, I can't just show the drawing because what I like more, drawing characters or the background. Thanks for the question, Jojo. By the way, welcome. You've said a few comments and I haven't addressed you. I noticed that, but thank you for being here. Thank you for asking a question. So, what do I like drawing more, characters or the background? So, it depends. I like to draw nature when I'm looking at the nature itself, more than I like to draw like backgrounds when I'm copying from somebody else. But what do I like more? I definitely like drawing people more. And I'm trying to think of where I'm going with this in a sense of you know, they're two different things, right? So I love to draw backgrounds. I don't necessarily like to draw the same backgrounds that other people draw, which is what I'm doing. I do love to draw Vincent van Gogh's backgrounds, his environments, because you can learn so much from his pen strokes. Like, just look at this. Just look at this drawing right here that I'm about to start on. If I you know, stop talking at some point. So you could just learn so much. I don't know if you could see all the details that he leaves in his pen marks, but you can learn so much. Like right here, you know, you can see that he uses patterns of like 6 or 7 strokes at a time, brush or pen marks at a time. You can see like right here that he uses different patterns of like cross hatching and hatching. You can see right here that like, you know, he's got groupings of 3 in different angles, and you know, you start to realize that you can learn so much from studying the drawings of other people. But I don't really like to draw um technical art. Like, you know, I don't like to like copy buildings that are perfectly straight and, you know, that an architect might draw because they need to create a, you know, a new building. I don't like to draw like that. But I do love to, like, you know, look at stuff like this or draw nature when, you know, nature is very forgiving as far as art goes. So I think that allows for more creativity because uh, it's like, oh, okay, so I don't have to draw every leaf exactly as I see it. I have some freedom to, you know, make it look like leaves or a flower. But I think with people, it's less forgiving, but that's the fun and the challenge, right? So I don't really do caricature. But with that said, I hope that answers your question. It was a bit of a long-winded one because I guess it's not so much about what I like more, although I do have preferences. Um, but I guess, you know, whatever strikes you at the time. So yeah, I hope that helps. I like to learn. If I can learn something from what I'm drawing, that's what I like the most. So yeah, thanks for the question. Are you a student, an art student, or were you just wanted to hop in and have a chat with an artist, or what's going on in your world? So I'm actually gonna start this drawing. Let's go right here. I'm gonna put this right up to the camera so I can get a little closer. And let's see. So right now, thinking through this drawing right here, I am looking for some areas to begin. So let's see, how do I want to do this? I'm actually gonna flip this and make this a horizontal or vertical drawing. And we're gonna go across here. So we're gonna start this line right around here. So I'm figuring out a good horizon line, looking for some marks that he made. Finding a good place to start. And it looks like he didn't do many, like... It looks like he just dives right in. He doesn't, like, sketch out the line. So maybe that's what I'm going to do, is start off with marking rather than, you know, just a big sketch out of what's going on. So let's do that. Let's try that. Let's try designing without using, you know, here, let me share with you what I'm looking at right here and how I'm studying this idea. So right here, if you look really closely, what I usually do is, you know, for here, this area right now, I might like sketch out the entire line, like just sketch it out loosely. And I think that's one way to do it. But I think if you look really closely, unless the lines were erased, it doesn't look like Vincent drew this line, right? He didn't like draw a straight line going all the way up to show, hey, this is the horizon. Maybe he did. He does that a little bit over here. But it looks like he pretty much just draws, just starts to sketch in his lines and then builds up on top of that. And then right here, he kind of goes into a line. But, you know, I don't know exactly how he did it. But look, if you look into these areas, you know, he didn't plan exactly like, hey, I'm going to make this section, you know, pattern lines and this section dots or whatever. It looks like he kind of, or like, you know, drawing in lines and then filling in the space, right? He like plans it out by making these marks to create the design. So that's what I'm taking away here. Again, maybe he erased some lines, or some lines are so subtle you can't really see. But we're going to go with this idea. Or maybe there was a little bit of a watercolor color underneath, because you could see some different colors. This is pencil, pen, reed pen, and ink. Yeah, so maybe he splashed a little bit of ink into these areas, created the path, and then made the marks on top. I don't know exactly. But that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm trying to study and figure out, and then, you know, from there we'll go ahead and just get started. So enough babbling from me. But let's go ahead and just start some of these lines. It is a little bit harder though to draw without necessarily having this like plan, because this SketchUp. So it looks like he goes about almost halfway with these. I think once I lay out this pattern area right here, it's going to start to help put things together. But, you know, it can feel intimidating if you don't necessarily know the plan, right? Like if you don't know exactly how you're going to achieve it all, which is, you know, that initial SketchUp. Like, let me share, like, initial SketchUp might be something like this, is what, you know, how I might normally do it. Let me just sketch it out. And then sketch out these two trees, and then I'll go ahead and show you. Thanks, Diane. So with that, this is just super loose, right? Like I might sketch this as a copy of this and then fill in the spaces, right? So here's the basic, like, you know, street, and then here's the basic street, and then a couple trees right here, and then I would like start to fill this in with the marks and build on top of it, and you would never know that this sketch is underneath. But I'm gonna do it a different way right now, so we'll see how this goes. So yeah, we'll go ahead and build into these areas here. We're going to continue and just follow the marks that are being made along the way here. And if there is a line, then I'm going to copy that line, but overall not worry too much about the specific specific outline, the form of what's happening, but really just copying the marks and, you know, studying the marks from there. So this is a reed pen. I've actually never used a reed pen before. And let's see, we got to find a good point to disappear to. So it looks like all of these disappear to the center point. So I'm going to leave at least one mark along the center So I want this to be the top, and I'm gonna have the center point like right around here. So basically I'm creating a point of which everything converges. So that way I at least have a guide. So everything's basically gonna look towards moving and getting smaller towards this point, the vanishing point, or the horizon point, whatever you might want to call it. But that's where I'm gonna aim everything, and I think that's a good way to at least have a guide of where you want to make things. So I'm trying something a little bit, drawing a little bit differently, but we'll see how this goes. I don't necessarily know, unfortunately, though. What I like to know is how exactly this was planned, because I don't know if I'd be able to even like plan something like this if I was just drawing this on my own. But you never know. So let's go ahead and just go right here. I'm trying to, and I'm, because this is like so much, there's so much going on here. I'm not looking to copy this line for line, but just getting an idea of like what the patterns are, what the forms are, the shapes, the different markings being used, and just learning from there. I think once I get a basic outline of how this is all forming, we can go easily start to much more easily start to figure out how this is going to go. So probably need some bigger lines here, bigger marks. So shaking up this pen, and let's go bring up some more textures here. So and one artist I think that you can really learn from, if you at least learn how they draw, is Vincent van Gogh. So out of all the artists, I mean, maybe there's a lot of artists out, that out there that have similar stuff where you can really study how they paint by how they draw. If there's one artist I would say that I know that's the most obvious is Vincent van Gogh, because it almost looks like the way that he painted was the way that he drew. There's a lot of artists where their marks, their paint marks, the way they paint, their brush strokes is really hidden away by, blending. When you take two colors and you kind of like blend them together, they pretty much disappear. But with Vincent, we all know his signature style with the very, descriptive lines and impasto and like all the markings. You can actually see in his drawings, like, hey, this is where the marks come from. This is where the ideas of his marks come from. So I think that's a pretty amazing thing. Whereas, the other artists, I think there was a generation of artists that want to really keep, many generations, like probably a century's worth of artists that wanted to keep, artwork and training and certain styles to the elite, right? Like they wanted to keep it within their school, the techniques and the methods and all that stuff. So there's like an entire culture of arts that they want to gatekeep their own styles, their methods. And I get it. Back in the day when schools were important, same thing with like karate. It's not not just the arts, right? Like karate, martial arts. They wanted to keep their martial arts a secret because it was so dangerous. Things like that. So I totally get it. It's not just the arts that try to keep these things exclusive. It's everywhere. But it's in the arts where you might expect it to be more free, like open, but that's not the case. So most artists probably hid there for the longest time. Classical and older artists would hide their techniques, but I definitely think with Impressionists came the opportunity to really see what artists were doing, rather than multiple layers, blending in, and all those things. Making your marks and your choices invisible. Vincent van Gogh is definitely one of the artists that helped to make it all very visible and transparent as to what you're seeing and what's going on. So, Amir, hello, welcome, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. It is great to be able to uh, have a returning person. Hey, Diane, thank you for the super. Very much appreciated. Even a little super goes a very long way. So, especially when YouTube recognizes it. And I think what happens is, YouTube likes supers too. Because they know that means it's a good channel and that they should probably share with even more people. So, with that said, always very helpful. Supers are very helpful. And with that, let's keep going with these drawings. Mir, Diane, what brings y'all in today? What is your stories? What stories do you have to tell us about your lives today? This is an interactive live. It's almost that ink. There's no way that pen is still going. Yeah, barely going. I still have to shake it up a lot, but no doubt about it, it is still going. Like every time I shake it up, I feel like there's at least like I can't believe that there's still so much ink in here. It just blows my mind. So, I'm gonna continue going with this. And yeah, for the pen lovers out there, if you're thinking about a pen refill that's gonna last you forever. And here's the funny thing: I bought like a pack of 20 of these, maybe like it's probably like 10 to 20, and that's it. Like I bought a pack of 10 or 20 of these. So with all the other types of pens I like to use, I find it interesting because I'm gonna be able to use these for a very, very long time. So here we go. I'm gonna go make this area smaller. And every time, just when I start to think this pen's gonna start running out, I don't know, this might be the episode actually, because I'm shaking it up and it's getting, nope. This might be the episode where this pen runs out and I get to start using a new pen. I mean, I could still use the same pen, I have more refills, but I'd like to start using my other ink pens. Ah, I just need a little extra shaking, that's it. And really watching as Vincent in these drawings changes up his markings as he goes across. I just love being able to see the patterns that he uses. And let's just see what happens. So this kind of disappears and he kind of has I have an acting teacher who would be very upset at me right now because I use the word kinda a lot. All right, today is the day. Today is the day. Let's see how many hours I can draw for today. I think my record drawing stream is about 6 hours, but we'll see what happens here. And maybe you'll be here for it, Amir. And how should we celebrate? How should we celebrate the if it happens? I mean, I don't even know if it will. It might not, honestly, because at the rate that this is going, okay. So right now I'm looking at this thing, and this has to end right around there. So we're gonna go about up. I'm drawing a stick, basically, stick in the ground. And it needs about a dozen or so sticks, so let's go like this. This is gonna go a little further away. This will be thinner. And then let's see, this next one is going to be even about the same length, but thinner. And then another one, as it goes away, and get even thinner and thinner. We can draw the pen with last ink. You will hurt your hand shaking. Yeah, you know, maybe that will hurt my hand. I don't know, but you know what? Pain is beauty. Women wear, I mean, I guess men can wear heels, but you know, if women are willing to wear heels for hours at a time for the sake of beauty, I am willing to shake my hand for the sake of this project. I mean, I think anybody wearing a pair of heels for more than 4 hours at a time is probably hurting their feet worse than I can hurt my hand just shaking it. What do you think, Kat?
About, yeah.
What I just said.
Yes. It hurt.
Yeah.
Within minutes.
Yeah. So I think my hand's gonna be okay for now. For now, I mean, you know, I'm not shaking this for 4 hours straight, but yeah, I can't imagine like just the idea of having to wear heels. I don't understand it. Cause like my feet hurt just by wearing like flat men's shoes. You know, having like a wood bottom shoe. By having like a flat bottom shoe, you know, standing on top of wood, but like, you know, at least the wood covers your whole heel for a men's shoe, but it's a standard heel. I mean, I guess for men and women's shoes, you know, normal shoes, flats, and they have like hard bottoms. But you know, a heel, just that little point, just going straight into your heel. I would whoever wears that, I don't understand like how the fact that the body can even tolerate that, putting all that pressure onto just one single point of your heel. All while having to develop a balance. All right. So, anyways, moving away from fashion, I'm gonna go ahead and just continue on. Let's see. So here, I'm gonna draw these lines up, and it's interesting because Vincent has these, you know, these pens that make much larger um, marks. So I'm trying to do a similar thing with a smaller pen, and unfortunately I can't make the same bold marks, but I can still make some similar designs. And let's see, I can actually, off the top here, I can actually do a horizon line. I can actually do a little horizon line. Let's draw our trees, because these trees actually have like a design to them, like a full outline design that I can easily copy and start to build upon. So here we go. And we're going to go ahead and draw in draw in some of these branches. I really love seeing some of the ways Vincent drew these trees, and it makes me wonder, like, hey, is this actually how the tree looked, or was it just his interpretation to simplify it? So here we go. We're gonna go with this tree. Draw a little arm piece there, and I'll share some updates as I go. But just looking to see and study ultimately how he's doing these things. So here we go. By the way, I just want to plug this great show that I started watching yesterday. It's called The Sympathizer. I don't know if any of you have heard of it or seen it, but it's a great show that just started on HBO Max. It's called The Sympathizer. It's with Robert Downey Jr., Park Chan-wook, and there's a lot of other great art. Let me look at the cast list here. I'm gonna see the cast list here of The Sympathizer, because there's a lot of up and coming artists, actors on that show. I mean, just imagine Robert Downey Jr., Park Chan-wook, great director. I don't know if y'all know who Park Chan-wook is, but he's a Korean director who directed the original Old Boy. So let's see, The Sympathizer. It's brand new, so maybe you haven't heard of it. There's ads all over Los Angeles, billboards all over Los Angeles about it. It's A24, so you can always rely on an A24 movie being at least decent. If not great, at least like minimum is that it's going to be a good movie to see. So let's see. A lot of upcoming actors. So obviously, this is Hua Xuanda. Hua Xuanda is the lead in this, with Robert Downey Jr. Basically, Robert Downey Jr. is like supporting him, because interesting to think of a relatively new actor, formerly unknown actor, being supported by Robert Downey Jr. How badass is that? Good for them. And Tuan Lee, I don't know if I pronounce all these names right. Fred Win Khan, Tom Dong, Scott Lee, Tien Pham, Q Chin, Win, Cao Ki Duin. These are all like Vietnamese names. As you can see, very Vietnamese heavy cast, because it is based on a Vietnamese story, so that totally makes sense. But I just want to say, like, I started watching it and I was like, this is gonna be an amazing show. I'm the type of person I cannot stand cheap cliffhangers, like poorly done cliffhangers. Like, obviously the show's really good. Like, obviously, the show's really good, the storyline's really good, but I just cannot stand a cheap cliffhanger. And when I saw the ending of this episode, the very first episode, I was like, okay, this is going to be a good show, because they have to use a cliffhanger, right? Like, you have to keep people interested. Like, you can't just wrap up an entire episode and be like, oh, that's it, come back next time for like whatever. There always has to be a cliffhanger of some sort. But what they didn't do was they didn't do a cheap cliffhanger, like, hey, here's exactly what's going to happen in the next 10 seconds. We're not going to tell you, but in order to know what happens in the next 10 seconds, you have to watch the entire, the next episode. It was more like, hey, these writers have like a vision of an entire story, and they ended the first episode with like this entire villain protagonist antagonist arc that you're like, hey, I want to see what happens with these people. I want to watch the entire season, not just see what happens in the next 10 seconds on the next episode. So I thought that was really well done. And, I think most shows can't do that, because, the writers are writing episode to episode, and I guess at some level I can understand, but I also don't like it when it's just a cheap, hey, most of you probably know what I'm talking about. Like, hey, here's what happens. We're not going to tell you what happens in the next episode. You have to watch it, rather than something like, hey, this is going to be an amazing story. You're going to watch it because this is like literally evolving the entire plot of what's going on. So, JoJo, yeah, great show to watch. I don't know if they're gonna have it in India. It's on HBO Max. Do you get HBO Max in India? Feel free to let us know in the comments. I don't know exactly what happens in India, as far as what you have on television. There's someone from Ethiopia in my live the other day, and they told me that they do not get Netflix where they live, but they do get YouTube, which is pretty cool. I feel like India probably gets. You don't get HBO? Interesting. Well, hey, maybe you could petition to get HBO. Like, even on your internet, if you were to go to like HBO Max, could you not get that? Or it's like there's like a firewall or something? Or do you mean you just don't have public access television that shows it to you? Oh, you don't have any TV subscriptions. I see. Yeah, they get really expensive. So the reason why I even got HBO Max is just for the show, and I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to work on it. So that was very exciting, and that's part of the reason why I watched it. It's a good show either way, but yeah. So I got to work on it, and that was a very much a blessing, and at the same time, it's also a very good show. I can't, say that about everything I work on, but actually, you know what? Almost every show, 90% of the stuff that I've had the opportunity to work on are actually pretty darn good. Really good, successful shows. They're definitely all projects that I would, be proud of saying that I had the opportunity to work on at some point in my career. So here we go. Going ahead with drawing some of these outlines, these marks, these textures around this tree. I'm gonna go around and down here. Let's go ahead. What kind of shows do you watch, Jojo? Shows, TVs? You like to watch live streams, obviously, so it's great to connect. If you have any conversations, ideas that you want to talk about, feel free to share them. If you don't have anything to share, what are some thoughts? I've been asking that question a lot lately. Flip the sketchbook, you want to see how it's going. Oh yeah, you got it. So here's how it's going right now. Just got some basic pieces coming along, creating, the basic major objects, and eventually going to make it all come together in one compelling drawing. So I'll go ahead and flip through the sketchbook. So I did all of them in one single sketchbook, all of these drawings with this over 42-hour pen. So this is one from the other day. This is from a Renaissance artist, Batista. I can't remember his last name. This is another one I did of a still life. Here's a more loose one. Some random stuff, just trying to get the ink out of the pen. These were messy because I thought the pen was running out of ink, so I'd stopped caring, and I was just like, oh, let me just get the pen to run out of ink. But out of frustration, the pen never ran out of ink, so I just kept going and going. And yeah, thank you so much, Jojo. Appreciate you. But do want to credit, a lot of these are copies, right? A lot of these are studies, copies of other artists. Some of them, I would say, a lot of them. So this one you get a much closer look. You can really see what's going on. And here we go. You know, compositional sketches. Again, this is a copy of Vincent van Gogh's drawings. That's one of the big projects that I'm working on, is just really diving into study Vincent van Gogh's drawings. Van Gogh, as they say. Vincent study. Vincent study. This is a random picture that I just decided to take off the internet and draw. Quick studies, like 30-second sketches of animals. 30 seconds, timing yourself, time sketches. There you go. Do a quick little slideshow of everything that's going on here. Some fun stuff here. Quick sketches. Done them with my own hands. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you know, I definitely. The one thing is when I do copy other stuff, I definitely agree that, you know, you do at least take some credit for doing it, but I always give credit to the original. Yeah, here's something that I did. I was playing with different types of faces. So I think this was about a 30-minute study. So I had 30 minutes to draw this gentleman here. Let's see, some other stuff. Fun projects. I always like to go a little abstract with things. Yeah, I love pen, but even more than loving pen, I can't stand pencil. I just cannot stand the sound of a pencil scraping across. Yeah, I can't stand the sound of a pencil scraping across a piece of paper. It's like chalkboard to me. Scraping a chalkboard. Some other drawings. Studies of Vincent's work, study of Vincent's work, study of Vincent's work. Pre-sketch, studying Vincent's work. So as you can tell, like for this project, these are all projects that require a lot of ink. And it's not just like, you know, writing a signature here and there. You'll forward this video to your niece to watch and learn. Wow, thank you. That's great. So I do want to say that this isn't necessarily, I don't do tutorials really. I'm more of a chat and draw kind of person. But maybe one day I will do tutorials. Because I like to say, you know, I'm not the greatest. Like a tutorial is like telling people how to do things. I'm not really good at telling people how to do things. But I am good at explaining how I'm learning something. And, you know, if somebody likes that way of doing things, or I'm good at like breaking things down, breaking ideas down, explaining, you know, what I'm thinking, which I think is the most powerful thing when studying art, is thinking about your favorite artist, the art that you really like to see, and observing, learning what they think, what that artist specifically was probably thinking. You know, we can't ever know for sure, especially if they're dead, but you can look at their artwork. If they're as documented as Vincent van Gogh, if they're as well documented as Vincent, you can look at their work and draw conclusions about it. And I think that's where the possibilities lie. Because you can really see with every mark that an artist makes, you can go, oh, that's what they were trying to do here. They were trying to create a texture. This part was not important. This part was very important. You know, they're super meticulous and crafts like, or they're not, and they, you know, they care more about the people than the background or whatever. You can learn so many things when you look at an artist's work. And I think that's the real takeaways here. So as a traditional pen artist, what is my idea about digital art? So traditional pen artist. What is my idea about Digital art. So I started off in digital art, and well, actually, I started off drawing with pens and pencils, but I went to a digital art school, and I had a whole setup. I was doing tons of art digitally. But here are my thoughts on that is that it's not for me. It is a very, very like computer technical skill. Of course, the creativity comes first if you're going to be an artist, right? The creativity is definitely first. But then, in order to really back that up with digital art, you really have to be a very skilled computer person. And although I'm good with computers and I could pick it up pretty quickly, your thinking has to be very different for digital art, like the way you tackle problems. And also you have to if you want to make the best of your time, you have to be comfortable. Like you really have to overcome a certain mindset of either you have to be a perfectionist and be okay with that, and spend extra time making just the perfect line. Because let me backtrack here. When I was doing digital art, I found myself like, hey, this line is not perfect, so I would have like Control Z. I don't know if y'all know what Control Z, Control Shift Z is. That's basically undo and redo. So you would draw something and you would undo that line and try to draw it again. And I would find myself like redoing a line like 20 times before I felt good about it. So you can imagine that multiplying 20 lines by like 1,000 lines that you have to draw, and it's a lot of time to spend on one piece. And the perfectionist, if you enjoy the perfectionist element of it, that might be great, but it can also be stifling. So what I found in pen art is a bit of the freedom. Like you really have to force yourself to feel comfortable making an imperfect line. Either that, or you have to just be really, 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 really perfect and make every line perfect. And think about it. But I feel like with pens, it gave me the opportunity to feel to build more confidence. Force myself to not only make nicer lines on the get-go, but to force myself to feel more confident with every line that I make, and know that either A, I could find a way to build the area around a bad line and make that look nicer, or B, that's the first option, or B, realize that single shading mark is not so important. So really determining like what's really important and what's not. And there might be an artist teacher out there that thinks every line is important, like everything is important. But I would disagree with that. Not everything is so important. Because at the end of the day, what's important to you is not always what's important to someone who might enjoy your work. There are all sorts of art. Oh yeah, by the way, here's another thing. When I was studying digital art, my mentor asked me a question. He's like, it wasn't really a question, it was more a statement. It was something like, I understand, I get where you're going with this, and I really like it. But this isn't digital art. This isn't like concept art that you might do for a video game or something, or a company. This is fine art. So I had to ask myself, do I want to do fine art? Do I want to do, that type of work that's more expressive, or do I want to do technical art, like for a video game or whatever? So at the end of the day, if you're doing stuff for like a video game or for a company and it's digital, like, you know, there's a certain look that you have to go for. But when it comes to fine art, if you're going for fine art, there really is a bit of there's more like of a self-discovery element of it, where you can start to develop your own style, your own ideas. And I had to ask myself the question, you know, is concept art really for me? Is digital concept art really for me? If I'm gonna sit in front of a computer or sit in front of a piece of paper for hours at a time, you know, what is it that I want to be doing? So yeah, you do digital art too, you get what I mean. But yeah, super technical stuff. The other thing on top of the perfectionist element of it, of trying to, like, you know, make every line just right, get everything perfect, knowing that, you know, you could fix a mistake 1,000 times in just a few, like, you know, a few minutes. Control Z, Control Y, Control Z, Control Shift Z, Control whatever the shortcuts are nowadays. Um, Knowing that you could just do that is great, but also it can also be stifling. So that's my thought on digital art. There's a lot there. Oh yeah, so there's also the technical thing of it, right? So like, are you okay with spending? For me, you know, if I wanted to figure out an exact way that I saw in a tutorial to do something, I would spend so much time looking at tutorials of how to do things rather than actually figuring, you know, going with a different route. So like, if I saw a tutorial of the best way to do a shade and I forgot how to do it, I would spend hours trying to find that exact tutorial rather than just doing it another way, you know, like being flexible with how I do things. And found with technical stuff, I had a hard time doing that. So, you know, just not for me. There was just so many reasons why digital art, I felt like I was spending more time uh, figuring out stuff. And eventually, you know, they become habits. And I get that. You got to give yourself time to learn the tools. But, you know, I was spending more time trying to figure out tools rather than more time trying to just make stuff. But the versatility, like what you can create with digital art is, I totally believe that visually the opportunities are like so great. And just what I could draw on paper is totally limited compared to uh, digital art. But you know what? I don't mind the limitations. It's okay. Oh, so we got a bird here. I got a bird. It's a parakeet. Naturally loud, talkative bird. She's trying to join in on our conversation. Do you have birds? Do you like birds? It's okay if you don't. I would not be upset. Yeah, birds are okay animals, you know. You just got to get used to their chirping and stuff like that. And sometimes they get annoying, but I think in general, you know, it's kind of nice to have. It's kind of nice to realize that there's like an animal that's like open to like just chatting with you, you know? There we go, small to big. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Shake the pen. And we're gonna go. Oh, you do like birds chirping. Okay, cool. Hey, bird, you hear that? One of the viewers likes to hear birds chirping. That's what I'm hoping, Jojo. That is definitely what I'm hoping. Oh, what just happened to the pen? I just put it down for a second. Oh, here we go. Okay. So let's keep going like this. I'm going to be building out the street up to about halfway up. So we're going to go... The one thing about copying drawings from artists, though, that is... It teaches you how to, like, draw like that, but it doesn't really teach you how to see. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, I can learn how to draw these lines, but it doesn't really teach you, or you don't really learn. You really have to develop it on your own, which, you know, there's always got to be something you figure out yourself. But you don't really learn how to, like, see, how to look at something and interpret it, which I think is a very important skill for an artist. And I guess, you know, at the end of the day, it's important for any artist to come up with their own, you know, unique way of doing that rather than learning how somebody else, knowing exactly how somebody else sees. Because at the end of the day, that's where we're going to help come develop our own unique ways of and methods of doing things. So just when I think I'm done, I get like, I shake it up and more ink starts to come out. I don't know how it happens, it just does. But it feels good right now. Maybe this pen will complete. Yes. Hopefully. And then I can start drawing with a new pen. I would love to use a new pen because again, this pen is not really made for a long-term drawing. It really is designed for, like, you know, on the go drawing for like an engineer or somebody that needs to sign a lot of documents, or like, you know, construction manager or construction worker who needs to like make markings on a piece of wood. You need something heavy duty because if you drop it, you don't want it to break. It needs to be reliable. So heavily reliable, dependable pen. But if you're drawing for long periods of time at a time, it can definitely be. It can make your hand a little uncomfortable. So. And I'm just looking forward to seeing something new, to looking at the marks from a new pen, different type of pen. Whew. All right, so it's been almost an hour. I'm gonna go for a little longer, and I'm gonna take a quick break, but keep the live going. And yeah, so hey, Jojo, tell us about your work. Tell us about your philosophy around art. What do you think about digital art? What artists do you like? Who are the top 5 artists that you would say ever lived? Do you like Italian Renaissance art, or do you like classical art from India? Share with us your story, my friend. Tell us about the type of art that makes your heart sing. Yeah, extreme questions. I guess so, huh? Hard to talk about in just one paragraph, right? That's why I ramble on and on, because, you know, I'm the type of person that never thinks a question is ever as simple as like a yes or no. It's always like, you know, the questions are never like a rarely ever a yes or no. Even if they ask for a yes or no, like, it's not really doing doing an answer justice. Definitely feel like I'm getting into a groove here. Getting into a groove of how this drawing is going to look. So let's see, maybe this, you're just too diverged. You like every art, either traditional, digital, so many kinds. Everyone has their own uniqueness. Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, if you really, 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 try, you can definitely appreciate just about all art. But is there like no artist that you're like, wow, they're great. They really, there's not like a single artist that you look at their work and you're like, wow, they really came up with something unique. Because whenever I think about like an artist, right, let's say Picasso or Rothko or Mondrian or Warhol or whoever, I really think about how without them, what would the world look like, right? Like without Picasso's Cubism, without Warhol's Campbell's soup tomato cans, without Rothko's, I don't even know what you would call that, like beautifully colored abstract squares. I'm sure that's not doing it justice. Without those artists, what would the world look like without their design, right? Like without Picasso, like can you imagine a world without Picasso, right? Like without Cubism, what would that be like? It might be pretty boring. Or without Claude Monet, right? Without Impressionism, what would the world look like? Maybe someone else would have came up with it, or maybe someone else would have came up with something different. Maybe someone else would have came up with something better, but it would be a crazy world. It would be like, very bland. Who knows what the world would look like? I don't know. But if no one has imagined any of those art styles, would we still have them? Would someone else have come up with it by now, or would it still be unimagined yet? So that's what I often think about when I think of artists and their work. Like there's stuff that's beautiful and there's stuff that's like, oh, okay, this is a beautiful painting of a person. But what would the world, how can you imagine, the Mona Lisa without the Mona Lisa, right? But also, I don't think Mona Lisa is a great example right now because Mona Lisa is like just such a classic painting. But I'm talking about like artists who really, really changed up what art looks like. Mona Lisa is like the de facto classical portrait of a woman. What's up, Northern Lights? How you doing? Good to see you. So right now I'm still working on that pen project, but I'm doing a copy of this drawing by Vincent van Gogh, which is right here. So doing this sketch, continuing to build out some of the details. And I'm talking to JoJo. So Northern, meet JoJo. JoJo's from India. And JoJo likes birds and art. Seeing a new generation of artists, so you haven't seen much of great art. But yeah, Picasso, Da Vinci, Vincent. Well, here's the other thing though, is the new generation of artists. You know, I feel like every artist who was prominent during the Renaissance was basically considered like a great Renaissance artist. Like, you know, how many people that were artisans during the Renaissance were just hobby artists, just sitting around, just, you know, doing doodles, right? So I have this theory, I can't prove it, but I think the majority of Renaissance artists in Italy during the Renaissance, were probably automatically just included and considered a great artist, right? Like they all put in their time, they all put in their study, they all went to like schools and stuff. Because if you couldn't afford to go to an art school, you basically weren't an artist. You weren't going to be afforded the luxury of becoming a potential artisan for you know the Medici's and the churches and, you know, doing all that artwork. So you're basically out of luck. And I think, all right, later, babe. And I think right now we just don't have like a conclusive movement, unless you call it the digital art renaissance. But I think, like, you know, almost any artist today, 1,000 years from now, anybody who finds your work is gonna be like, wow, they were a post-COVID Renaissance artist, right? Even though there's like thousands or millions of us, but that's a theory. It's a very optimistic theory for today's artists, but it's an idea. A lot of things you never know until 1,000 years later, 500 years later. Oh, you're the new generation of artists, what you're saying. Yeah, so there you go. New generation of artists. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. To become a new generation. You are the current generation. The current generation of artisans. Creating a path for tomorrow. Modern art renaissance. So Northern, what are you up to? How are you doing? Got any new words of wisdom, self-discoveries? Any new ideas, meeting any new cool people, stories to share? What's going on in your world? Oh yeah, the Blender project. I don't remember. So you asked me for a recommendation. I was like, how about this, that, whatever, and I think you picked one. So how's that coming along? Blender, good old 3D art. All right. So let's go like this. We're going up with these pen marks. You're currently designing the room, done with the table and the chair too. Almost. All right, that's a big move. Oh yeah, you said you were doing something about like looking out a window at the city. Nice. That sounds like a very ambitious 3D project because you got to do an entire outside view. And I'm guessing you got to set up a camera in a unique way and come up with a person too, or whatever. But I'm actually gonna step away for a moment. We're gonna do a mute break, and I'll be back in less than real quickly. All right, and I am back. Wow, 1 month. You're already tackling a big project. That's pretty cool. And it's like a self-guided project, right? Like, how'd you get your reference? How are you? Thank you. So Northern, what sort of reference are you using? Are you just totally making it up on your own, or do you have like a picture that you're using of modeling everything, or how are you doing the concept? How are you coming up with a concept for it? Do share if you want, unless your secrets are not meant for mortal eyes. Secrets of the artist known as Northern Falcon. So my drawing is way off technically because I think I drew my sticks way too short. I'm going to draw my sticks a bit bigger here. Lo-fi girl. I use Lo-fi girl's room as a reference. If you look it up, it captures what you want to do pretty well. Lo-fi girl. Is that like a Twitch streamer? Is she a Twitch streamer? I'll look her up. I definitely look her up. Actually, I can look it up right now. Let's see. Got my computer in front of me. I don't always have my laptop in front of me. All right. So let me see what lo-fi girl, lo-fi girl, lo-fi girl, lo-fi girl. Oh, all right. Lo-fi girl, like lo-fi music. I gotcha. Oh, cool. Good stuff. Yeah. I see it now. See what you're going for? Yeah, that's such a great aesthetic. Like a classic classic Japanese. Are you going for like the classic? Because I'm looking at the images on here and it looks like classic Japanese style, and you're making a 3D like Japanese manga anime style. Love it. Love the aesthetic. Okay. Let me draw this house here, somewhere right around here. All right, so let's see. Great to make the 3D. Hey, sir, you got to go now. Hey, Jojo, take care. Thanks a lot. Thanks for jumping by and saying what's up. It's almost midnight. You're going to be scolded. Hey, well, you don't want to get scolded. I don't want you to get scolded. So, take care, and we'll see you around another time. So, Northern Falcon, really enough, the only thing that will take you time is the room and the furniture inside. The city outside is not a problem with the technique you learned. Cool. Well, that's great to learn a technique that makes things easier. What are you doing, like the randomization thing, and like duplicating buildings and stuff? When I was learning Blender, one of my mentors told me about this tutorial by Jama Judabev, I think his name is. He was like the creative director for one of the Star Wars or Mandalorian or something. He has this great tutorial of how to make like an entire city in like half an hour. And I did it. I was okay with it, but there was like some stuff that I just like could not figure out, and that the tutorial didn't do a good job of explaining. But yeah, there's some cool tricks for Blender for making cities. I don't know what you're using, but that was something that really stood out to me, is how you can just make these like massive cityscapes and just with just a few simple tools. Yes, would it be surprising if I told you Google Earth was designed by Ian Hubert, a guy who makes casual YouTube? Wow, I did not know that. That would be surprising. Because I always thought of Google as just like this yeah, well, this is blowing my mind now, because I always thought of Google just as like a bunch of photos, right? Like that there's a car that drives around with like a 360 camera and just travels the entire planet. Um, but then, it makes you forget that there's like 3D modeling on Google. And how does that work? That is, we complain about like AI where it is now, but there's this interesting story of how the internet was originally created, or no, GPS was originally created by the military, for the military, like 50 years before it came out for the general public. So, this makes me think like, we think about AI tools that create like little cities and stuff, or like randomization tools, but there's some algorithm to create an entire city, entire planet, like Google, just based on pictures. that's pretty. You just blew my mind there, just thinking deeper into that idea. So, wow, yeah. There's someone who programmed something. Oh, the tutorial was a minute long. Yeah, if you know exactly what you're doing. Oh yeah, by the way, there's this great quote. It's like, here's how you can know if somebody knows what they're talking about or not. If they're able to tell you in under a minute, if they can summarize the exact thing for you, then they know what they're talking about. But if you ask them to explain something and they take like a half hour, then they don't know what they're talking about. And I think that's especially true for technical stuff. It's like if somebody knows exactly what they're talking about for technical stuff, they're like, okay, you go here, click this, and click that, and then you do these things, and then there you go, you're done. That's it. Don't bother me anymore. But if someone's doesn't really know what they're talking about, they'll show you like 10 different ways, 20. They'll like have to talk about it for like forever. I don't know. I think that's true to an extent. Yeah, exactly. I definitely I think it's true to an extent, right? Like uh someone's trying to sell something, they'll kind of like talk and talk and talk, and they'll like they might beat around the bush on some things, but straightforward people. It's definitely a personality, it's a trait, it's a skill to be able to do it elegantly and well. But I definitely like a video that gets straight to the point, like when I'm trying to find a technical problem. So I've been an artist, like a serious artist, for since about 2000. I would say about 4 years now, a little give or take. I mean, of course, I would draw as like a kid, but I don't consider like that drawing that you do as a kid for the most part like a serious pursuit of the arts. You know what I mean? But I haven't been a drawing artist the whole time. I did do some digital art. I studied Blender for a little bit, got into that, but it was not for me. So I did other stuff. Yeah. So get here. Let me share with you. Let me share with you. I'll be right back. Give me like 2 minutes. You might like this. Here's my little Kim Jung-ji art book collection. So this is a little book by Katsuya Terada, who did like a little partnership with Kim Jung-ji. So this is a pretty good book. It's a lot of color and sketches, but they did a partnership together, like a collaboration. It's got some cool stuff in it. And actually, I have these two other sketchbooks from Kim Jung-gi. This I haven't opened yet. I don't even know what's in here. It could just be a box with nothing in it for all I know, because I haven't opened it. But it's a 2007 sketch collection from Kim Jung-gi. And so I actually have this 2011 sketch collection. I think this one I actually opened it. This one, let's see. I haven't looked inside really. I didn't want to touch the book because I was like, wow, these are really good. But I guess now we'll make this out. We'll pop this out. Let's see. I don't remember if this was wrapped and I opened it or whether it was already like this, but let's see what's in it. I haven't even looked inside. We're gonna get a little surprise here. Some nice little treats. So this is 2011. Kim Jung-gi 2011. Let's see what's inside. It's a really nice book. It's really thick. It's got a nice like Tiffany's color. Oh yeah, there we go. That's kind of cool. It's like really subtle sketches. This isn't even like, a full sketch. This is just like a subtle small sketch here. Yeah, these really are sketches. This is great. Just like simple studies that you can look at. Looks like you used some pencil in these. But great to kind of like look through these. I'll have to look at this soon on my own. But yeah, very cool. People picking their nose. I've yet to look at this on my own. But great stuff. He's got a course. So Kim Jung-gi, before he died, he did a great course, a drawing course on Kazone Online. I think it's pretty affordable. Let me put these books back before somebody accidentally sits on them. So I'm back, but before Kim Jung-gi before he passed away, rest in peace, he did a course where you can actually he teaches his drawing. Now he's not really good at teaching you every step and thought in his mind of how to really draw for beginner, but if you're a more advanced drawer, it's nice to follow along with his course. It's on Kazone Online. I did that. But I will say that when I did that, I was pretty new to drawing, and it was fairly difficult to follow along with, because what I really like to know is hey, what's on your mind? How are you thinking about this? How are you? He kind of says oh, you look at it from a top-down perspective, and that's kind of that was it, and then he would show you how he did it. But for me, I really needed to hear more of the steps. I was really curious about what's on his mind while he's doing all that. But let's see. So damn cool drawings. Saw one of his old live streams. It's fun to see him draw out of pure imagination. So I was clueless. Yes. Okay. Yeah, sure. But yeah, I was fairly new and just looking at his stuff, and yeah, it's pretty really amazing work. Although here's the other thing though. Although I know he can do a lot that's just straight from his imagination. He was in the military at one point, the Korean military, and I think he had some skill where he was supposed to remember stuff. So he was really good at that. And I think it's interesting how he did this. I don't know if you saw it, but he has this one. The last project before he died, he was supposed to do this huge wall drawing. and he was using a reference. He had, while he was drawing, he had like a phone in his hand, and he was using that as a reference. So I find that very interesting for the artist to realize, like, although he can do stuff out of his head, at the same time, he also, for really serious projects, he'll use references. So I think the idea of these artists have sort of having any sort of savant-like abilities, kind of neglects the idea that not only did they spend lots of time drawing the same thing over and over probably, but they do also, they're human, they use references. He has a YouTube video on him drawing doing the wall drawing. It's worth the watch. So anyway, great books. I don't know what the prices on those books are now, but now that he's passed away, I mean, to purchase one is probably, I don't know if they raised the price, but I'm sure they might have. Let's get this other side of the tree here. Have I considered reading mangas? Honestly, I've never gotten into manga. And here's a funny thing my mentor told me, my concept art mentor when I was doing digital art. He's like, if you really want to be serious about art, don't draw manga. And again, this is like, can be controversial because if you love manga and you want to draw it and you don't mind being a manga artist, do it, right? Like, but he said if I was gonna take it seriously, and I've never gotten into manga, so of course that advice would be fine for me. But I can imagine, I think what happens is they have a lot of students. I can imagine at digital art school you get tons of students who like come in, they drew manga throughout high school and into college, and now they want to do something with their drawings, but they can't stop drawing in the style of manga. And I think that's a common challenge for a lot of art teachers. Is how do you get someone to break out of a certain style for the purpose of a certain type of career, if they want to, of course. But I do get the idea that a lot of manga can be very, very beautiful. As you were mentioning, Lo-Fi Girl, I think her style is in the style of a classical manga, 2D, 3D world. Like obviously you're making it 3D, but it is a 2D image. I mean, I watch anime. I've definitely watched anime. I'm not opposed to the idea, but I just haven't necessarily gotten into watching it. So let's see, he's probably right. Reading a manga is a fun thing. Making one as a professional mangaka is a damn hard job. Yeah. And then I ask myself, like, what makes it hard, right? Like, what makes becoming a manga artist hard? I think it's because so many people are influenced by manga at such a young age that it's like it's like the most obvious thing to get into when you're young, and that leads for a lot lot of competition as you get older. Because very few kids are like, hey, I want to draw like a classical Renaissance artist. I want to draw, I want to be a great portrait artist. I want to, you know, paint murals, hyper-realist murals. But there's tons and tons of kids that are like, hey, I really like manga. I just want to draw these characters. These characters are great. Oh. Yeah, I mean, what would you call her style? I don't know what the lo-fi girl style would be. Okay, so you would not categorize Lo-Fi Girl as like a manga based on like, you know, classic Japanese manga style? Like a modern, something close to that, just not a traditional. So like modern modern pop fi. Maybe we just came up with something here. Modern pop fi. I don't actually know what fi means. Fiction? Sci-fi? Modern pop fiction? Contemporary pop fi. Pop fi. There you go. We're coming up with a new style. I'm sure it's already got a name, and we just don't know it. So you can't really come up with something new, but it's worth a try, right? Always nice to... I like to come up with, like, new words and stuff for things. Well, modern pop fi, I'm making it up. So, like, pop, like, popular, and then fi, like, all these other words, lo-fi, hi-fi, pop, sci-fi, whatever. So into this drawing, getting some of these sections, noticing more and more lines here. I have to use a lighter stroke of my pen in order to capture some of these lines here. Line weight. It's very important. Alright, I need something that goes from here. And it just goes across like so. I'm talking through this next part of the drawing right now. One thing about Eiichiro Oda is he struggled with back pain and migraines because of the constant exhausting work he had to do in the span of a week. It's probably true for most Oh, for sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, they work hard. Definitely. Like, For sure. Yeah, they worked so hard. It often makes me think about, like, you know, I mean, manga itself, and also like all of their peers in other businesses like animation. You know, those original Disney animators, like, you know, they had to draw out every frame or like every couple frames of Mickey Mouse or Goofy or Donald Duck or whatever. They did not. Boy, they. I don't even know where to begin on the work that they had to do. I mean, manga, of course, but since we're talking the subject of hardworking artists, Disney artists, any animator prior to, you know, digital art and stuff like that. Probably true for most men. There are people who really, really are passionate about art, so they're ready to make sacrifice. Consider checking out art from the manga Berserk. So there's detailed panels in Berserk. You get a look at its art style. Let's see. Let's take a study, another study break, because I've been definitely taking lots of study breaks. Let's see, Berserk manga. Oh, wow. These are some very, very detailed pieces. So I see wallpapers, but yeah, holy crap. What did you said? Berserk panels. Let's see. Berserk. Get detailed panels. Berserk manga detailed panels. Here's the other thing, though. I'm looking at some of these panels, and honestly, like, this doesn't look like. I think when my mentor was talking about like don't draw manga, I don't think he was talking about this. Um, you know, like there's like the anime, right, where everything's flat. You know, they kind of have like the pointy chins, and like they only shade. You know, they only use two shades, and they use shadows along the face. But Berserk, you know, I'm looking at these panels, and they're really, really highly detailed sketches that, you know, obviously I guess it was just produced by a manga company, but you know, these are really in-depth like comics, but I guess they just have the manga category rather than anime. uh, like if you're drawing something like Berserk, you're not, you know, you're not an anime, high school anime, fresh out of high school anime enthusiast. You're like a successful comic book artist, you know. Yeah, very cool. I think there's also a lot of artists who are who have moved into digital too, like In Hyuk Lee. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but In Hyuk Lee is a comic book artist, but he does all of his art digitally. Not that, not that digital versus pen, I'm not commenting on the medium. I'm just saying that I wonder if all of these are done by pen. Some of them, a lot of them probably, but I wonder if some of the things are done digitally. Anyway, also Berserk was created by Kentaro Miura, who also sadly passed away with his editors. Yeah. I guess if you want to create a successful manga, you gotta have a team. That's neat. Good to take a little break and see and visually see something different. You know, it'd be an interesting idea. Where have I gotten into my art? Yeah. Hold on, let me finish this one section real quick, and then we'll get back. I'll share. But here's an interesting idea. You know how we were talking about the other day? You were talking about Blender projects, and I was like, oh, you know what I saw that's really interesting is people taking like paintings, like really famous paintings, and then making them 3D and interactive, so you can interact with VR. That's another thing. I mean, it might be a bit of an ambitious project because there's so many, but like taking manga panels and making them 3D. So I guess like any manga company can have like one special edition that's like virtual reality where they hire a 3D artist to actually make the entire single book 3 dimensional. So here's where I'm at. This one's going pretty slowly, but this is where I'm at. Working on some of the details on this side. And yeah. Well, you are welcome for the idea. That is what these discussion groups are good for, right? It's what friends are for. Creative friends, at least, are for, is to have people to bounce ideas off of. And even, non-creative friends. Like, you get great ideas from just about anybody. What you do with it. So here we go. I need some more lines. I'm gonna go straight across until the very end. Actually, let's put the houses down first. So this is gonna be first layer, the second layer. We're gonna do some houses right here. Making digital art of a good panel sounds good. You definitely work on it in the future. Oh, digital art. Okay, cool. Yeah. Also, the other thing about manga, though, that manga and anime that could be tough is dealing with the copyright issues. You really have to learn how to navigate those. But there's definitely an audience. When you find your audience, you never know. Like if you do manga or whatever, you get discovered because it's so easy to find people who stand out in things like that. Like, oh hey, this person's posting on DeviantArt, and they do these 3D. They're known for these 3D versions of Berserk or whatever. How many people are doing that? Not too many. I mean, maybe a lot. I don't know, but you there's probably not as many as we think compared to other things. Right. I mean, for sure, if you're authorized by the company, you know, there's you have all the rights that you need, right? I'm just saying in general, like if you're making like fan art, pop art, uh, if you decide to just go out and just make you know, 3D versions of whoever whatever character. Okay, so let's go ahead like this. Paint in some more lines. You know, there's a CGI anime of Berserk that came out in 2017. People really do not like the animation, and you agree. Hmm. You seem like a very big fan of Berserk. Surprised they haven't made a show about it yet. Oh, actually, I'm sure there's probably an anime on Berserk, right? A Berserk anime? There has to be. Anytime, there has to be. Someone has invested in it already. Has invested in the idea, has taken notice of it, and thought that, hey, this is worth making an anime of. So here we go. So how much more time do you think you got on your 3D apartment complex scene? You got like 10 hours, 5 hours. Do you think you have all the skills you need to finish out of curiosity? One, two. One, two, three, four, five. One, two, three, four. Take you a week. Series you have to do with schoolwork too. You know, the thing about Blender Journey so far is you actually watch a lot of tutorials, but you only follow properly through one of them. So what do you mean? The thing about your Blender Journey? Ducky, welcome. That's some fun art you got there. Is that your your thing making a, is that a duck with a knife or is that a bowl? Duck with a knife or a bowl? That's fun. That's different. I could see that becoming a worldwide sensation, a viral sensation. Ducky the the knifey the Ducky the duck with a knife. Is that your cartoon? Did you come up with that? Or is it like the other cartoon that I don't know about? A cartoon that already exists that I just don't know about. All right, I think I'm almost out of ink. I got to shake this up a little more, but let's see what happens. I feel like if I shake it really hard, it'll definitely come out, but eventually it has to stop. Oh my goodness. People, I think we've got, that is a awesome design there. So I think people, this is big. I think I'm finally out of ink with this pen after drawing for about 40, I guess it's about 43 hours. Let's see. I am not getting, I mean, I'm still getting these little ink marks, but by thing you meant like make things without much guidance. You see a reference and bring it to life. Yeah, Amir would be surprised. Ha! All right, I think I can officially say I'm out of ink with this because as you can see, I've shaken it up multiple times, and multiple times, and I'm barely getting any ink out of it. Like you can see that. All right, so we're gonna call this complete. Wow, everybody here, um, only a few, couple of you. Shout out to Amir for keeping in touch. But let's see. So this has been about 2 hours, but I probably did about like a half hour of talking. So we're only gonna add about an hour and a half to what's the name of this stream? What's the name of this stream? 42 and a half hours? I think 42 and a half hours. So 44 hours of ink in this pen worth of drawing. 44 hours is what we're going to call the time. And this means I could actually switch out my ink pen. Actually, we'll do that later. But I get to switch out my pens finally. Use one of my actual drawing pens. So I'm not necessarily going to stop drawing right now, but I will pull out another pen that I can use. And I'm actually going to do a review video on this pen. Where, I always put stuff and forget where I put them. All right. It's got to be within arm's reach, right? So that is that. I spent about 44 hours drawing with this pen refill. More importantly, this is just a container, a nice container for pen refills, but the refill inside is actually a SCHMIDT 9000 Easyflow M, and it lasted roughly 44 hours of drawing. And we're not just talking about like, little drawings, little signatures and dainty drawings. We're talking about some heavy ink drawings. So stuff like this, lots of line work, lots of shading, line work, and that's a lot of ink there. A lot of ink in these pens. Some of this, like just dark ink, dark heavy ink. Dark heavy ink. Like this is just like scratching on the paper, and the ink just did not run out. So it's starting to run out here a little bit, it felt like, but then I just had to shake the pen up, and there we go. So these are some pretty ink heavy pieces, and it still lasted about 44 hours of some serious drawing, sketches, studies, all that. I seriously thought I would be done by like, look at how many pages I filled in this book. More than half. Filled up more than 120 pages, I think. So you wish you could share some of your artwork. Hey, what's stopping you? Or do you mean you wish you could share some on here? What do you mean? The 4 places I post, of course I do my live streams here, but I post on Reddit, I post on Instagram, and I post on TikTok. Those are my big 4 places. Out of all the best places, I would say TikTok is #1 for sure. TikTok. Oh yeah, so you could show me. So here's the thing. I can't click your name from here. I can't. Yeah, I can't look at your profile from here, and I can't see the chat after I've started recording, or after I'm done recording. But if you want, if you leave a comment on these videos with your social media handle, I can find you after. Or if you want to email me, you can email me. It's Huzzah, Huzza, no H at the end, so Huzza at huzzahcreative.com. But if you just want me to pop over to look at some of your artwork, I'd be glad to. On TikTok, I'm able to live stream multiple people and let the other streamer literally just hop on and join my stream with me and share their work that way. Yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's the same thing, Huzza Creative. You can find me on there. But all right, let's talk about a new pen. I actually just filled the ink on this a little while ago, so it's still got a lot of ink, so I'm not going to do the same challenge again. But when I do run out of ink, I'm going to do the challenge again with a new ink. But it's probably not going to last as long because there's small little ink, and the ink tends to come out much harder with these. But this is a rOtring ink pen, or art pen, I should say. So this is like a classical metal tip art pen, fine point, and we're just gonna work with this. It's gonna be quite the change because the ink is much darker. So I'm gonna work with this, get a classical art pen feel. Definitely looks way different. It's gonna change the whole feel of this entire drawing simply because the ink is so dark, but that's okay. I was expecting this. I didn't expect anything different, so. And let's go here. Well, welcome people. Okay, add me on Instagram. So yeah, I think I've used up at least half of this. So I'm gonna start another stream later, as my next project after I'm done with this little batch that I refilled a little while ago. I feel like this bit is already almost gone, but they definitely don't last as long. I've had like at least 3 refills in this so far, but on my other pen, definitely not as many. So on the rOtring 600. But totally different quality of pen, different quality of ink. The challenge I'm gonna have with here is, these pens you really have to keep facing down. Like if you start to do it at an angle, or if I start to like go upside down, the ink's not gonna flow as well. So this is a bit awkward for me because I have to draw at this angle, because this is a angled plane here. So I'm gonna have to get used to a new way of angling my pen, or at least using this compared to the ballpoint. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I just gotta do it a little differently. Nothing too different here. Or I mean, nothing too crazy, but just a little different. But it could definitely change like how some of these how some of this shows up for sure. So I think this is actually a pretty traditional, like yeah, my Instagram handle, Huzzah Creative, so Huzza Creative. I thought I shared it earlier, that's why. So Huzza Creative, Huzzah Creative. yeah, feel free to find me on there. You can add me. Let me see if there's any rhyme or reason to how he's doing these. So they're in some type of order, not totally perfect order, but close. You know, they're aligned in some way. All right, so only about 5 or 6. I only need about 5 or 6 of these. I definitely feel like I don't have as much I don't have as tight of a grip on this as I do with my other pen, because the way the ink comes out. So I have to really figure out. I really have to be careful with this. Also, I can't shake it up because the ink's gonna come flying out. So good luck with my artwork. Hey, take care, Northern. Thanks for stopping by. Really appreciate that. Look forward to connecting on Instagram. We'll chat later. Hope you do great with your projects. And here we go. We get a lot of dots around this piece right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm counting out all the dots that I make. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The only problem with this pen, hey Ducky, what's going on? How you doing? So the only problem with this pen is that all the ink pretty much flows out really dark. So, it becomes much harder to create line variety compared to a ballpoint pen. That's okay. We'll learn to work with it. I think it's always nice to work with a variety of tools and find out their strengths, their weaknesses. So Ducky, tell us about your about Ducky. I guess you're not Ducky, that's Ducky. Your photo, right? You're the creator of Ducky. Glad to say that on my YouTube channel today, the creator of Ducky is here with us. So Ducky, tell us about the inspirations for your your viral sensation, the duck with the knife. Cute but deadly. I like the concept there. I haven't seen your channel yet. Is it a cartoon that you're developing or a comic book? Actual duck holding a knife. Oh. So it's inspired by. You're inspired by somebody else. That's wonderful. You don't do content. Do you do stickers? Do you do Ducky stickers? Is Ducky an eventual, vision of something bigger, something else? Or is it just a short term, just you thought it would be a funny design or cute design or whatever you felt about it and you just wanted to make it? So I think the design is very clever. And it's simple, but it gets your attention. And that could be the start of something much bigger. It's all just beginning. Oh, you draw for fun. All right, well, that's cool. Drawing for fun. Awesome. So out of curiosity, what brought you here? Was it the idea of drawing for 42 hours, or was it just the idea that, hey, there's an artist here and you wanted to support people who do art rather than some other stream or something else even? I like to know like how people find me or decide to jump on here. It's nice to know. So for this pen, it's the rOtring art pen. It's a fine point. I really have to totally change up the change up the way I write. Or the way I draw, because I got to go at an angle. Let's see, we got a couple random marks here. And here we go. We'll share an update here in a few moments. but right now I just got to get a couple pieces settled before I can share too much more. I want to get a lot of these little dots that are popping up around here, around the bottom of this art. Yeah, what do you draw, Ducky? What else besides besides that? I think the design for Ducky, you don't like make something like that. As simple as it is, what I've come to realize is that, simplicity is definitely a true sign of mastery of certain things. When you're able to take a really good idea and simplify it into a really elegant design, and I'm using the word elegant loosely for what you made, but the simplicity of it, while still being able to capture the details, is quite a skill. Skill that definitely demonstrates some mastery of something. So I know, you're not, it's not your first time drawing something. Whew. All right. Let's do the rows of lines here. And here we go, continuing on, just drawing these sections at an angle. And here we go, just slowly but surely, just taking some of the lines that are made and forming them across. Here we go. Let's just share a little update here. And here's what we got so far. Starting this out was probably the hardest part, because you really got to like figure out how you're going to create this, lay out everything without just drawing the line layout, the sketched layout. That's the fun part. Challenge yourself, finding new ways of doing things. I guess these dots must represent flowers of some sort. And here we go, continuing on, slowly but surely, just copying what I see, following patterns. One thing about Vincent van Gogh's work, if you take the time to study, is you learn so much from his drawings. Like, there's a lot of drawings that it's hard to learn from, because the details are like so blended in, right? Like a painting, colors can be blended and you don't really know what the original intent or the original method of doing it was. But Vincent van Gogh definitely reveals a lot of his methods and techniques through a lot of his drawings. Because here's what you can see, what I'm looking at. And you might not get the exact answers that you're looking for, but you can at least get some ideas. Like, you look in depth and you're like, okay, why did he use lines to shadow in these trees? Why are there so many different patterns in these sketch marks down here in the road? You have these why questions, but at least you can see what's being thought here, or an example of what's being thought, rather than just pure duplicating exactly what you see, or like traditional artwork where you're like erasing and blending and things like that. But it's a little bit different. His work, just as he laid his emotions out in his artwork, he also did a great job of laying his technique out for all to see. And I think that's an amazing thing. That I think there's a lot of gatekeeping of like methods and techniques, and while that might be true, like if you're animating and there's technology or something involved that makes you better and more efficient, but I feel like as far as art goes, Vincent really wanted to share, really did not mind people knowing, hey, this is how I did my stuff. This is how I did the work. This is how I achieved these marks. This is how I achieved this look here that we have going on. And let's continue on with some of these marks. So going across like so. So laying down some more marks, some more little dots. And let's see, how do I want to tackle this next space right here? Yeah, I guess just lots of small hatches in groups of like 6 to 12. That's what we're gonna do. Batches of 6 to 12 little marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I guess that's not 12, huh? But give or take. What's up, champ?
Hey, look what I got.
Hey, look at that. Very nice.
Yeah.
Those are cute. Some more stuff to paint.
What happened to?
Huh?
What happened to your pen? Still going
No,
strong?
I'm on a new pen right now.
No, I don't believe it. When did it run out?
After 44 hours.
So it just ran out?
Yeah, like 30 minutes ago.
Wow, how did you feel when that happened?
No, just
Oh,
ready to
really?
move on to the next one.
It's
But
like,
yeah,
oh, thank God. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. Great, yay.
I mean, I was almost starting to expect that it was never gonna run out. You know what I mean?
Unlimited. ink.
Like unlimited, permanent, forever
Wow.
ink.
So cool.
So, are you gonna start working as a model?
Perhaps, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he's going to talk to somebody today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm
Very
trying to get a
good.
vase, but I don't know how to do that.
What do you
Can you get it? Not knocking anything
hold this,
over?
please?
It's dusty. Oh, great. Thank you.
Got it.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
All right.
Dishes before I can even get close to the sink. Oh my goodness.
So one thing about this new pen that might not work is because I'm so used to drawing at this angle, but I have to change it up for this pen because this is a gravity centric pen where the ink has to flow downward. It's the fountain pen.
I donated to the table up front at Bordeaux's for Save Animals on Death Row.
Really?
Yes, I had
You
to.
did, huh?
Yeah, I had to.
That's cool.
And the girl there was so nice.
Yeah? Oh. Alright, and here we go.
Hi, hi. Hi, hi.
And here we go. So what I'm learning is you don't need to necessarily draw every blade of grass, but you can really get away with drawing just a lot of blades of grass. Okay, so slowly building out my artwork and getting these, so many dots, and maybe I'm not calling them the right thing. There's probably a reason for these dots, but for now, let's go ahead and start filling this in with bigger lines. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Counting out some various lines so that I can know where to add marks and how many to add. Helps to keep track. It helps you build a rhythm if you're gonna do these types of drawings. Wow. All right. So I think we're gonna call it a complete on this drawing. Let me add, let's see, a couple more define pieces to really define this area. I'm really gonna have to get used to this pen as far as using this to make these drawings, because the pen is not a very fine pen. All right, so we're gonna call this a wrap for now. Those of you that tuned in, thank you. But we're gonna call this a. Actually, I want to fill in the rest of this space before I finish off here. At least a couple more dots just to fill the edge of this paper. And let's see, we're gonna do these dots, and then we're gonna go this little area right here. All right, and with that, people, we are done. So we might be back a little later, but thank you so much for tuning in. We'll take a break here and have a great day.